Welcome back to Foot in Mouth. Football Manager 26 finally comes out tomorrow, and if you are anywhere close to as excited as I am, please let me know in the comments who your first save is going to be, especially if it's not with Arsenal. Because if not Arsenal, then who else, in all honesty? This game has taken ages. Last year's edition was cancelled, so we've been living off of Football Manager 24, and there's only so much FM24 that you can take. So yeah, I'm optimistic, even though the beta has been a little bit janky. I am still very optimistic. Maybe it's just absence making the heart grow fonder. I'm just desperate for a new Football Manager game. But yeah, let me know if you are excited about that as well in the comments below. Tomorrow night is also Champions League football. So tomorrow I'll be doing an episode with predictions for that. But for now, we are to speak about Premier League games that happened over the weekend. A fairly straightforward weekend of results, I think. I think most of the games went the way you'd expect. The biggest shock of the weekend coming from West Ham beating Newcastle 3-1 at home. How about that for your first win in a while? But yeah, other than that, we had Liverpool getting an important win. Chelsea got a big win against Spurs. Arsenal maintained that gap between themselves and the rest of the title challengers. And of course, Manchester United managed to drop points against a terrible Nottingham Forest. But such is football. I want to start though with Wolves, because after their 3-0 defeat to Fulham, the club announced the sacking of Vitor Pereira, who literally just like 40 odd days ago signed a new 3-year deal. So things did not go well after that extension was signed, and a lot of people were questioning whether or not he deserved the extension. But I applauded the commitment. He was clearly in it to win it, for lack of a better phrase, and I think it probably was the right decision. I'm just left wondering, kind of, who can save this? I don't even know if it was worth sacking him now. I think they should have just stuck with him. I don't know who is going to have eyes on that job. There obviously will be candidates in the mix at the moment, but I think, especially considering Wolves' performance against Chelsea, they still have the ability to pull off performances. It's just in the Prem, it is not happening for them. They did not recruit well enough in the transfer window. They didn't replace key players like Cunha and Nori. And yeah, it's another one bites the dust for Wolves. And it got me wondering what the heck happened to Wolves, bro. They were once upon a time like the giant killers of giant killers. When Raul Jimenez was still there, Nuno Espirito Santo was just doing crazy things at that club. And that just seems like ancient times now. And yeah, I honestly, well on track to get relegated this season. I think, look, there are 3 Premier League clubs that look well on track to get relegated. West Ham still very much in the mix even after that Newcastle win. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the Wolves' decision to sack the manager. Right decision, wrong decision, does it even matter? Because I genuinely think they would have just been better off keeping him. That team is a mess right now. And yeah, we could very well be on track to see 3 Premier League clubs go down this season. I still think that it'll just be 2 max. I don't see Burnley and Leeds staying up. Both of them just above relegation zone at the moment. So I don't think that that's going to be the case for much longer. I think one of them is going to drop down, namely Burnley. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the situation going on at Wolves. Right, on to matters at hand football-wise. Liverpool got back to winning ways against Aston Villa. I was hoping that Aston Villa would do Arsenal a massive favour here, as they have been doing in recent weeks, but Emi Martinez said, nay, that dude just handed Liverpool the win. At least he handed them their first goal. Mo Salah's 250th goal for Liverpool. That guy is an absolute legend. Not only of the game, not only of the league, but especially at Liverpool, bro. It's insane the numbers he puts up season after season since he joined under Jurgen Klopp. And even at his lowest, this is why I say you'd rather have a Mo Salah out of form than no Mo Salah. I know I have been on the show saying that he shouldn't be starting based on current form, but I did also acknowledge that you can't not start him. He's Mo Salah. You just need that one moment of magic, even if he does perform below average for most of the game. If he can get you that goal that gets you the win, that's all that matters. So Mo Salah doing what Mo Salah does best, coming through. And yeah, Aston Villa not going to be happy with that performance. They were quite unlucky, hit the bar quite a few times in the first half. But at the end of the day, that Liverpool performance was overall really good, it must be said. So I think it was a deserved win for Liverpool. I'm a little bit worried to get ahead of myself in terms of, Liverpool are back, because I said the same thing about Manchester United, and we've seen how that has gone. But yeah, I think it was an absolute must-win game for Liverpool. Absolute must-win game. There were no two ways about it. It was a home game, so they needed to deliver, and they did. They did exactly that. Like I say, the performance is really good all around. They do have the unfortunate task of playing against Real Madrid next. So maybe this game was a really good confidence booster ahead of that fixture. But doesn't help when you got Man City on the weekend after that. So it's a very tough week for Liverpool, very tough week for Arne Slot. But this was at least a very good start to it, considering. I mean, I guess, yeah, end to the previous week. But yeah, it was a good way for them to go into 2 very tough games. So let me know what you guys thought of the Liverpool performance. Are they actually back? And let me know early in the comments what you guys think about the return of Trent Alexander-Arnold. He is, of course, coming back to Anfield. He said recently in an interview that he wouldn't celebrate if he scored against Liverpool. I believe that. I naturally do believe that. I think he's got a little bit more class than that. And yeah, I think that it's going to be interesting. The narrative around this game, as if there wasn't enough narrative around it already. It's Liverpool versus Real Madrid. It's one of, if not the biggest game of the Champions League calendar, if ever it comes around. So yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to definitely get into more detail about what I'm expecting in my predictions tomorrow, but let me know what you think about the return of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Chelsea took a trip to 3-point lane. I genuinely thought that Spurs could put an end to that, but some things are just inevitable, and it is another home loss for Spurs. Crazy stats, Spurs have nearly as many losses at home as Arsenal do at the Emirates. In the league, of course. It's 41 Premier League losses at home for Spurs since 2019 when they got that new stadium. For Arsenal, since 2006, we've got 48 losses at home at the Emirates in the Premier League. That is a crazy stat, and I know people may throw around, oh, but Spurs won a trophy, they won a Europa League. Yeah, some good that Europa League is doing you, bro. The damage that Ange did to that club has clearly stood the test of time here. And I think that is quite bizarre. Not bizarre, but honestly a little bit embarrassing, bro. If in the space of 5-6 years you manage to rack up, by the end of the season they probably will hit the same number, as many home losses as Arsenal in the span of like 20 years, bro. Like, it's insane how many losses Spurs have taken. And it goes hand in hand with their bad record against Chelsea, bro. It just took one goal for Chelsea to win it. João Pedro, very long overdue goal. Caicedo on the assist. Caicedo, by the way, what a season this guy's having. There's constant comparisons between him and Declan Rice. And while I do think that they are two very different players, I think that both very much deserve a shout for the best midfielder in the league at the moment. I think that Caicedo in this game in particular, obviously performing like this against a big side like Spurs, stands out a lot more than Declan Rice standing out against Burnley. But Caicedo, hats off to you, bro. I think Liverpool had every reason to push as hard as they did to try and get your signature before Chelsea ended up getting it. But yeah, what a player. And if you can perform like that against Spurs in a London derby, one of probably Chelsea's like second biggest game of the season, that goes a long way. I think that is a real sign of a great play in the making. What's not a sign of great players in the making is the nonsense we saw from Djed, Spence, and Mickey van der Ven after the game. The way they brushed past Thomas Frank. And this is what I want to ask. What would you do in this situation if you were Thomas Frank? I understand the two of them are important players, but that is kind of as peak as disrespect gets on the pitch. After a loss, especially against a rival like Chelsea, they had no reason to have that type of attitude towards Thomas Frank. I understand that the manager got some things wrong in this game, for sure. But at the end of the day, you're a professional football player. That's your manager. There are fans there who you should go and clap off. They had to sit through 90 minutes of that terrible defending, bro. Honestly, talking about Arsenal conceding goals, and everyone's asking the question, when are they going to concede again? I thought that the next best thing would probably be the North London derby coming up. But if Spurs are going to keep defending like that, they're never going to have a chance to attack us. And secondly, that midfield of Palhinha and Bentancur does not scare anybody. So I think that Thomas Frank definitely gets some things wrong. But let's not pretend like Djed, Spence and Mickey van der Ven didn't play a massive part in João Pedro getting the goal of the game. So I think that was a little out of pocket. If I was the coach, I'd genuinely be considering benching them. Maybe not even benching, kicking them out the team entirely for the next game, bro. Because yeah, you can't stand for that type of disrespect. And Djed Spence does not have the CV for that type of attitude, bro. Mickey van der Ven doesn't have the CV for that type of ego. I think the two of them need to take long, hard looks at themselves in the mirror, because that shit should not fly, bro. And I wouldn't be surprised if Thomas Frank does clamp down on them. I hope he does. But yeah, let me know, what would you do if you were in that situation on the pitch? Moving on to Manchester United, this close to 4 wins in a row, bro. This close, but the United strand is going to have to wait. I don't understand why he would have made that bet. I don't know what to call it, that declaration. But yeah, it's definitely coming back to bite him. Man United, this was their best bet to make it 4-4, I think, because Forest were absolutely in the mud form-wise, especially. New manager bounce did not help them in their first game under Sean Dyche. And yeah, Manchester United were on the up and up, 3 wins in 3. So you definitely betted on Man United to win this one, and that is how it looked like it was going until in the space of 2 minutes, Forest pulled back 2 goals to make it 2-1, and then it took a very late 81st minute wonder goal from Diallo. Look, this goal was absolute goal of the month, but a goal of the season contender. So worth the wait, I suppose, but the result, brother, not a good look, I said in the build-up, this United had to win this game just on principle. Just because Nottingham Forest were doing that badly, United had to win this one. But I guess that's also the thing in football, you know. So like bad phases and good phases come to an end. The question is, who's going to be the team that you play against when it happens? And Man United just happened to be the club that Sean Dyche got his first point as Nottingham Forest manager against. And while I don't think that this is an overall sign of Manchester United on another downward spiral or anything like that, I think that Forest showed a lot of fight. We have to give them credit there. I do think that this is another reason why you shouldn't get ahead of yourself, is why I'm not saying Liverpool are back, you know, because yes, they did beat Aston Villa, but Aston Villa did also very much beat themselves. And I think that Manchester United dropping points against Forest, while it's not the worst result, you consider the next game they have is against Spurs, they kind of have to win that game now. And look, for most of the big clubs, for all of the big clubs really in the Premier League, every game is a must win. But when you are trying to string together some type of momentum, because that's the only thing that's really going to save Manchester United overall, it's momentum. They need to get a run of results. 3 wins in 3 was great, but they needed that fourth, bro. So I think that with Spurs on the horizon, this draw is not at all what they needed. So it's going to make that game all the more interesting. We know that Spurs in particular have had United's number in recent seasons. Not the type of game you want to go into off the back of dropping points against this bad Nottingham Forest side. But yeah, at least they didn't lose the game. I think the Man United of old, they lose this game. And shout out Casemiro for getting another goal. He's also having a really good season. But let me know what you thought about the Manchester United game. 2-0 to the Arsenal at Turf Moor against Burnley. And much like I said about Man United, how the United of old would have lost that game against Forest, I think the Arsenal of old drops points in this Burnley game because first half, good. Second half, And Burnley were throwing everything in the kitchen sink at us. Literally at the death, they damn near scored a consolation goal from a free kick, which, look, it wouldn't have won them the game, but it definitely would have spoiled Arsenal's clean sheet streak. And I'm saying it every week now on the show, I want that Chelsea record, bro. As much as I want that league title, I really want that Chelsea record. So I'm glad that we kept another clean sheet. What Arsenal are doing right now seems impossible. But again, we've seen it done before by Chelsea. So slow and steady. Game by game, Arsenal are at least inching closer and closer to it. Next game that we've got in the Premier League is against Sunderland away, so it's another opportunity to extend that record. But Burnley here, hats off to them for actually playing against us. I want to start off there, bro. In the first half, they definitely were a lot more logical and cautious about their approach, but I think that Arsenal managed the game very well. Viktor Gyokeres, best 45 minutes in an Arsenal shirt so far, hands down. So I think that his goal was justified. It was another set-piece goal, thank goodness. Love to see it. But the second goal from Declan Rice that absolutely killed it off. So well worked, bro. And Gyokeres passed to set it up. There's a big debate. Did he mean it? Didn't he mean it? At first glance, I thought that he definitely meant his pass for Eze in the middle of the pitch. Every single time I watch that replay back, I think he 100% meant to pass that ball to Trossard. I know it sounds crazy, but the way he hit that, I think that he is... Like, he showed better technique than I think I've given him credit for. And in this game, there were a lot of moments where he showed a lot more than I give him credit for in general. So, yeah, I think best performance that we've seen from him so far. Unfortunate that he came off at halftime with a suspected injury. But all the talk from the social medias, at least, is that it's nothing major. So, he should be back for the Champions League game. Although, to be honest, I'd rest him again, bro. I'd rest him again. That rest before this Burnley game clearly did him a lot of good. Being able to literally sit one game out, he's played a lot of football. So, yeah, I'd rest him again. And, yeah, I think job done at Arsenal. It's another solid performance, another solid win on the road to the title. Erling Haaland got Manchester City's title challenge back on track as well with another masterclass in front of goal. This guy is literally just chasing his own records at this point and beating his own records. And... look, I'm happy he came up with a new robot celebration because he's clearly embracing it. That's exactly what he is. He's not human. Another brace for the... I don't understand how... Look, there'll be one game that he misses. You know what I mean? One game he doesn't score in. But that's such a dud in the season. He just cannot stop scoring. And I think that this season, genuinely, I think he's going to outdo his best ever at Manchester City. I genuinely believe that at the rate things are going, bro, he's single-handedly carrying Manchester City up the Premier League table and keeping them there or thereabouts in the title race. It was Bournemouth they beat, and I think that this is one of the few games where Iraola did show a little bit of arrogance. And, yeah, he shouldn't have maybe approached the game the way that he did. Maybe gave himself and his players a little bit too much credit for how they've been doing lately. Manchester City, for all their flaws, are still a team that is to be reckoned with. So while I was hoping that they were going to be able to take some points off of City, it kind of was inevitable when you consider how they were playing. And again, at the Etihad, bruh, like... I expected a little bit more from Iraola, I can't lie, but I do also think that this game is something of a throwaway for Bournemouth. It's a free hit, you know, for as good as they are doing this season. Bournemouth versus Manchester City, you bank on Man City to win it at the Etihad every day of the week. So, yeah, I think that Bournemouth aren't going to lose much sleep over this. Erling Haaland, it's just another big weekend for him in Premier League football. And, yeah, let me know, how many goals do you think Erling Haaland is going to finish with this season? I genuinely think in the Premier League alone, he could push 40, bro. We could see something like we saw from Suarez, Neymar, and Messi in the La Liga. I think we could see Erling Haaland hit numbers like that in this season. Let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, also we had a big win for West Ham, like I said at the top of the show, versus Newcastle. And I think eyes on Eddie Howe, bro. It is the season of sackings. Will still got sacked by Southampton just in time for FM26. No surprises there. But I think Eddie Howe is right now really riding his credit in the bank. Newcastle are having a terrible season. It has to be said, bro. It has to absolutely be said. I think they're 13th on the table now. Far from good enough. They're about 6 points above relegation zone. They definitely did take a L with losing Isak, but yeah, losing to West Ham right now, this West Ham, that's one of the worst looks in football right now. But credit to West Ham, Nuno Espirito Santo, he picked those players up. They managed to finally get a win. And maybe this is the start of a comeback. I would hate to see West Ham get relegated this season. But yeah, as far as must-win games go, every one of them was for West Ham at this point. They needed to break that streak and to get a win against Newcastle. Even if Newcastle are in a bit of a rut, that's a huge win for a club like West Ham. So I think it could go a long way for them. Palace beat Brentford 2-0. Another solid defensive display by Crystal Palace. And Brighton won 3-0. And can I just say, Manchester United, y'all should be looking very hard at a possible loan option for Danny Welbeck in January. If not loan, then permanent. Because this guy is just aging like wine, getting better with every season at Brighton. I think he's a hell of a player. I'd hate to see him leave Brighton. But to be honest, bro, I'd love to see him get one more chance at a big club. I genuinely think that he earned it. I loved him at Arsenal. If there was space for him at Arsenal, I would be pushing for Arteta to make this exact same move. But I think Man United could genuinely do with the Danny Welbeck there. Let me know what you think in the comments. And the last game for the game week is being played tonight. It's Sunderland at home versus Everton. My prediction for this one, I'm banking on the Sunderland win. Let me know what you think. And then, yeah, like I said, tomorrow I'll be back with Champions League predictions. I've got my mind on FM26 already. But yeah, I'll be back with Champions League predictions. You can get in the comments with early predictions now already. You can go over some of them in tomorrow's episode. But for now, thank you as always for watching this episode. Do leave it a like if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll catch you in the next one.